Hello everyone, this is Arif and today we are here with the Unit 2 of CIA Part 1. It is about audit assurance activities and we will be discussing about what are the key assurance activities that internal audit perform their auditing during their audit engagement. This is a brief intro of my professional career and a little bit background of my professional education and academic background. In case if you are interested, you can always connect me via LinkedIn. If you remember, in the last video, we had the basic understanding of the foundation of internal audit, in which we discuss about the purpose of internal audit. Here in this unit, we will be going one step further in order to understand one of the two key or major activities that internal audit perform. Internal audit basically perform either advisory services or assurance services. So today in Unit 2 of the CIA Part 1, we will be discussing about the advisory services. Here is a brief overview of the entire CIA Part 1 syllabus and where we are standing at the moment. So we have already covered CIA Part 1 Unit 1 Foundation of Internal Audit in our previous video. And today we will be going through the Unit 2, which is Assurance Services Part 1. This entire discussion or lecture basically covers somehow 10% of the entire CIA Part 1 syllabus. So overall, by the end of this unit, we could have covered around 20% of the entire syllabus. Similarly, expect 10 to 12 MCQs from this section, and after this we will be going through some more types of audit assurances that internal audit perform. um, Remaining areas would be advisory services, ethics and professionalism, and GRC, governance, risk management and controls, and lastly the fraud risk is the last unit of the CIA Part 1 syllabus. In our today's discussion of Unit 2 of CIA Part 1, we will be mainly covering two key, or if we can group the entire discussion into two main groups. The first one is about controlled self-assessment, what it is about. It's a very interesting topic. And the second one is assurance services. Within the assurance services, we will be looking at a bit more at a deeper level what internal audit do or perform the activities when it comes to third party or contract auditing, how we as an internal audit perform quality auditing, similarly security and privacy auditing and performance auditing, part of Unit 2 of CIA Part 1. Let's start with the first topic, which is about assurance services. It is important to understand that internal audit key main purpose is to provide an independent and objective assurance services, which helps to build a strong governance, risk management, and control environment within the organization. In our previous video, I have highlighted what does it mean independence. Independence means that the organization reporting to the highest authority within the organization. It's mean that they are properly staffed, they have the capability, they have access to the board of directors, and administratively to the CEO. So these are the key factors that promotes the independence of internal auditor. In terms of objectivity, it's the individual auditor uh, mindset, basically, where he feels that uh, whichever processes he review, he's able to uh, review it more objectively and are able to give their independent opinion about the processes in terms of whether the controls are effective or not. They are not being pressurized. They are not responsible for the same processes before, which means that they were not part of the operational activities, because as an internal auditor, if you were part of previously in operational activities, then you would not be objective in stating an opinion about the same process, because you were responsible to carry out those activities. So you have to be independent of that. Also, objectivity is compromised if you have some kind of relationship with someone who is responsible for the for the process, and you have a soft corner for them. It could be because they are either you have a relationship with them, or they are your friends. So in those aspects, we as an internal auditor have to be very much objective. And when we are objective and we assess different processes, eventually it helps the organization to improve their governance practices, their risk environment, their control activities. Internal audit also helps the organization in assessing the processes and recommending the efficiency element of the process, just in case if we found that the process can be carried out in a more efficient way by utilizing less resources. So this also we recommend. It's not only that we recommend the gaps, but also we recommend if in case we can help the management in improvement of any processes. Even sometime or internal auditor has to re-evaluate the controls in case if they are overly controlled and the benefits defeat the or the cost of the controls defeat the benefit of the control. Then we have to have an adequate and to manage those risks through controls. So internal auditor are supposed to be very objective in terms of not only identifying the gaps, but also ensuring that the processes still remain efficient when we give them any recommendation to the management. One of the key elements of the internal audit activities is also to ensure the reliability and accuracy of the data which flow within the organization, be it in the form of performance evaluation or or reporting to the different stakeholders. These reports or these data which flow within the organization, it could be of financial or operational nature. One of the other key activities of the internal auditor under the assurance is to ensure the compliance of different um, stakeholders or processes within the organization under the laws and regulation, and sometimes internal company policies. Another aspect of internal audit under the assurance activities is also to review the controls to ensure that the assets of the companies are properly safeguarded against any loss or misuse. Overall, internal auditor promotes an ethical behavior within the organization, not only by carrying out the audit activities, but also through their personal conduct. And as part of the internal auditor mandate, we are supposed to embrace and reflect ethical behavior in our conduct in order to be more independent and be respected by the management. Um, how we carry out assurance activities, we generally review processes, we compare with the standards, sometimes with the benchmark practices, sometimes with the standard could be a benchmark practice, it could be laws, regulations, internal practices, and then we identify the gaps and we assess the controls and we identify the gaps in case if there are, and then we give a recommendation to the management. There are three key stakeholders involved in any assurance activities. The first one is the process owner who manages the area. The second one is the internal auditor. Basically, we, as an internal auditor, we evaluate the processes. And the third one is the users of our results. So any audit, the report which we share with the management and the audit committee. So they are basically our users. So they rely or they put their trust on us, and based on our results they are able to make certain decision within the company, especially in the domain of governance, risk, and controls. They enforce the management just in case if they found that there is a huge gaps, or sometimes they simply monitor the activities of the internal auditor if everything goes as it is intended. It is very much important to understand that the assurance services which internal audit provide does also conform with the COSO framework. COSO is basically an internal control framework uh, which enables the organization to have a strong internal control environment. COSO define internal control as a process affected by the entity's board of directors, management, and the personnel, designed to provide reasonable assurance, not an absolute one, regarding the achievement of the objectives related to the operation, reporting, and compliance. So, if you look at the definition of the internal controls and compare with the purpose or the definition of the internal auditor, you will find there is a kind of a similarity. Um, However, the responsibility here of the internal controls has been given to the board of directors, management, and other personnel within the organization. However, the purpose of the controls is to provide a reasonable assurance that the organization is able to achieve its objective. Similarly, internal auditor perform independent assurance activities to ensure that the organization is able to achieve the same organizational objectives. So here our objective part is similar. We also promote through our activities governance, risk, and control environment. And here is part of the internal control definition. It is also to promote operational reporting and compliance activities within the organization. Um, so, part of the COSO framework basically complements the assurance activities. COSO framework has five key components. It talks about the control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, monitoring, and in monitoring activities. What it constitutes that in any effective organization where you would like to say that they have a proper internal control environment. So these are the five key activities that has to be there. For example, the control environment is basically the tone from the top management and the board, what they think about the controls, how they react if the controls are weak, and also the reporting structure, performance appraisal structure, delegation of authority, define the uh, properly defining the job responsibilities. So these are all part of the policies and procedure. These are all part of the control environment that has to be there within the organization. The second thing is there should be continuously or ongoing activities to assess the key risk within the processes in the organization, to review the control activities, that if there are risk, how they are being mitigated. We have four types of way of mitigation of risk: avoidance, treatment, reduction, or transfer. Then all these mm, uh, activities shall be performed through communication. In communication, it's a bottom up and top down approach, where the top management give the vision, strategy, and objectives of the organization, whereas the bottom approach is where we perform our activities and give reporting to the line managers and departmental head, and eventually it goes to the CEO to assess whether we are able to achieve those objectives or not, and improve wherever there are gaps. Then continuously monitoring, so it's not a one-time activity, it is a continuous activity. And the overall purpose of these five components is to ensure that the operations are being effective within the organization and we are protecting our assets. The reporting is being accurate and transparent and timely, be it financial reporting or non-financial information reporting. The third thing is compliance with the laws, regulation, internal policies, standards. So these are the three main objectives why we need a COSO framework as an overall framework to enhance the control environment within the organization. Hence, going through all these discussion, we conclude one thing, that the assurance activities within the organization basically helps to improve the control environment within the organization as per the COSO framework. Controlled self-assessment is a very beautiful concept. It's the I call it a lighter version of internal audit. It has more to do with the second element, or the key responsibility of internal audit. The first responsibility of internal audit is to provide assurance, and the second responsibility, or the supporting complementary services that we provide as an auditor, is consulting or advisory services. So controlled self-assessment is part of the second category of the internal audit services. Here, what we do, rather than being we the boss, and we all the time we can tell that what are the key risks in the particular process, or what the management is supposed to do through recommendation. We enable the management to identify the key risk and to propose the key controls to manage those risks. So this is a very beautiful concept. It's not still not so common, despite the fact that it has been there for a while. The reason is still a lot of the companies, they want that hard core audit activities in terms of assurance. But I have observed that this CSA is still happening in some companies which are relatively mature in terms of their risk maturity, and where there is more democratic or collaborative environment, which are more open for the ideas and for improvements. The reason why we come up with this controlled self-assessment, or it's, I would say, an evolutionary um, steps toward more enabling the end user to be aware of what is risk and controls, and secondly, take the responsibility for the risk and control. From my past experience, what I have observed, that majority of the companies, they observe internal auditor as the custodian of all the risk and controls. So if tomorrow anything goes wrong, the first question is, where were the internal auditors? So basically, but they do not understand that being an auditor, our job is to give an assurance on a particular area on a periodical basis, because we cannot audit the entire organization. And I've also observed there is a misunderstanding in the process owner level, that they say this is not my responsibility to identify the risk or fix the process. It is the management, or let the auditor identify the issue and let the management fix the problem. So by having a CSA concepts or approach within the organization, what we are doing, we are delegating that responsibility, and we are visibly telling to the process owner that now it's your call, your responsibility, your area. You are the expert of executing or carrying out those activities. So you could be in a better position to let us know what are the key risks in your area, and if you have any suggestion to manage those risks. If you do not, maybe your associated colleagues will have. If they do not, maybe we can take the help of internal auditor or risk management or compliance department to help us to fix the problem. So this is the whole concept of CSA. The key crux is to improve the assessment of risk and control processes, and to enable efficiency and effectiveness within the process. This is the key crux of self controlled self assessment. Um, so who carry out the process owner themselves. Uh, the key element of the CSA is basically, we cannot take it lightly. CSA, it's a formal approach, so we need to have a formal approach whenever we are trying to implement that concept. So the key components in the CSA approach are planning. We have to have a proper planning, that what are the key risks which we are trying to identify, and what we are trying to manage, or how we are trying to manage. So we need to have a proper planning in terms of who will be attending the meeting, what are the resources they need, are they well trained and informed on the concepts of risk and controls and the organizational objectives. So this is the these are the things that we have to carry out ahead, and how many meetings will be there, who will be responsible for what during the meeting. So these are all the things which we have to have formal planning. Logistic in terms of seating arrangements, generally CSA are carried out through a workshop. So where that these people will be sitting, how the sitting arrangements will be happening. Generally, we prefer a U-shaped table where everyone can look at each other, or a round table where everyone can look at each other and have a candid discussion on the key risk and controls. Agenda, again, what are, so without wasting all the people time, we need to be very specific that what we are trying to achieve from this meeting. Scribe, or you can say a secretary who can write it down, the all the deliberation which is happening within the meeting, and how they have reached to the decisions, and what are the voting, and what is the most preferable solution that they will be implementing. So someone has to scribe. Electronic voting and reporting. So we have to have a voting on the suggestive answers or solutions, and reporting. Finally, we have to have a report on which we can tell to the senior management, and obviously we can tell it to the audit committee that these were the risks and this is how we carry out through CSA, and this is the end results, and these are the implementation things which we have either have carried out or we are about to implement those solutions within the process to manage the risk. So what we can conclude from the CSA, first of all, CSA ensures everyone's responsibility, that everyone is responsible within the organization for risk and controls, and achieving the organizational objectives. And the CSA needs to be in a formal setup where we have to carry out planning, logistic, agenda, scribe, electronic voting, and reporting. Who are responsible for what under CSA? The senior management obviously is responsible for overall oversight of the entire program of CSA. The operating managers, basically those who are involved in that operation, they are there to assess the risk and controls within their processes and brainstorm to come up with any improvement within their processes. Internal or external auditors. External doesn't mean here the statutory auditors, but rather the outsourced internal auditor. So the internal auditors are there to provide assurance. First of all, we can be and provide an oversight from overall that how they have set up the entire CSA program. We can also look at the solution which they have provided. Are they reaping the benefit or not through testing, so that we can provide through assurance. Some more responsibility in detail about the internal auditor. There is a flexibility on CSA that how internal auditor can act and behave, because we are being considered as a risk and control experts. So the onus or the responsibilities on us to decide what is the best approach for that, for any of the particular company which in which we are, and how we can mold our responsibility to suit the culture of the organization and enable that the objectives are being achieved. So we could be the sponsor. Sponsor means that we take the ownership of the CSA entire program, or we can design. There could be another sponsor, but we can help them in design that how they can go about CSA program. Or we could be the one who implement the CSA processes within the organization, not the controls in itself. So we are there to the concept of CSA, how we implement the key principal elements of the CSA, and on the process where we take all the responsibility for the CSA planning, execution, and reporting part. It doesn't impair our independence because we are there as a facilitator, but we are not there as an expert where we are telling them what to do. So the management, whoever is taking part in the CSA program, and the operating managers, the process owners, they are the one who will highlight the risk or suggest the controls. We can carry out training for CSA and generally about risk and controls and about organizational objectives, that how these risk hampers or are detrimental to the objective of the organization, in order for them to be more productive in these sessions. We can provide a specific task within the CSA program. We could be a facilitator, where if they need an expert opinion, so we can be there as an expert opinion, where we can provide, okay, this is the basically the risk, or to give them a refined version of what they want to achieve, or to help them in controls recommendation based on our experience. We can be a scribe, where we can write it down of all the discussions which is or deliberation that is happening within that session, and write it down all the that what were the results, who voted for what, and how many votes we received for certain solutions. So that we can do. And the reporters, so we can be the reporting person to the management and to the audit committee. Coordinate the participation of the management and work team. So we could be a coordinator, where we could be the participant between the work team and the management. Because what happened in the organization, I've seen mostly that the work teams are reluctant to approach to the management if that organization is very formal and authoritative kind of reporting happens, or it's a government setup, and the role and responsibilities reflects your seniority. So in that organization, it is very difficult for the work teams to highlight any of the risks. They are reluctant to psychologically. So there we can be a bridge where we can help them to set up this entire project, and to help them to identify the risk or make efficient their process by communicating, being a bridge between them and the management. Here we have a list of key outcomes of a CSA program, or we call it benefit of CSA approach. What happened that if an organization implement a formal CSA program, um, the business units get trained in terms of risk and control. So what happened in most of the organization, the auditor or risk people, they are the one who is always talking about risk and control. But the people on the ground who carry out their day-to-day activities, or who are in the operations, back end, front end, customer centric, non-customer centric, support staff, they are not speaking the same language. By having these kind of a workshop, it enable that these business units, they also start speaking the same language, and they are also very cautious, and they are well trained to manage those risks. This concept is relatively encourage the soft controls within the organization, where we make people more conscious of the risk and control, rather than we always talk about hardcore controls and implementing them. We enable people to participate and to own and to be more cautious about. So soft controls are being more, as a matter of fact, is more important, or being put it forward as a more important element in the CSA. In internal audit assurance engagements, its hard controls are mostly assessed, though we look at soft control, but sometimes it's difficult to test a soft control. The third thing is continuous improvement. That happened with the CSA, because we keep on brainstorming, we keep on trying to find the best solution for our problems. So as a result, we improve our processes, we improve in terms of organizational compliance towards laws and regulation, and also we improve adherence to the policies and procedures within the organization. Internal auditor can play a very vital role in CSA. We can act as a trainer and an expert where we help people to know how to identify risk, how to recommend controls. So this can also happen. Internal auditor also have an edge in these programs that they get more insight in the organizational operational issues, and they by virtue of a CSA program get more information which enable them in carrying out a proper risk assessment or focusing their audit activities to the high risk areas. The management responsibility to have a proper risk and control processes within the organization, that is being reinforced. The CSA program itself reflects the reassurance from the management that they are concerned about the risk and concerns about the control environment within the organization. So that is become pretty evident in this process. um, One more thing, that the internal auditor can provide validation through assurance services that, um, let's say the management highlight a certain risk, and then based on the workshops they come up with certain solutions, and they say these are the solutions which will fix the problem. So the internal auditor are the one who can provide assurance whether these solutions, after testing, obviously, are effective enough, have designed properly, are effective enough, the cost benefit. So this, sorry, this all we can provide assurances or validation to the management and to the audit committee. The basic premise of a CSA program is to integrate the company's objective or the organizational objectives with the risk and control processes within the company. There are three different types of approaches to CSA program. One is facilitation workshops. So basically, in that we call everyone in a meeting room or in a one place where we put forward the agenda. We forward the issues and we try to brainstorm and try to find the solution. The other approach is survey based, where we have a set number of questions that we send it to different individuals within the company, and we seek out their opinion. These are mostly yes no type of a question or multiple choice question. Then there are then there is the third approach, which is self certification, which means that the department itself, they carry out a CSA activity within the department to resolve or to come up with a solution for a problem. It could be one problem, it could be many problems, but the purpose is where the process owner themselves take the ownership, and they follow the same protocol of a CSA, and they come up with a recommended solution, and they self certify themselves that they have managed the risk. Generally, the auditor, they are the independent individuals who carry out a review or perform the testing on those recommendation or controls which they have deployed, and give their individual and independent assurance to the management and to the board. There are four possible formats of CSA that you need to be aware of. The first one is control based. Okay, you can remember these four by CROP, an acronym that if you are interested, you can use that, or you can use any other by making your own self. But these are control based, risk based, objective based, and process based. So these are the four um, possible format in which we carry out CSA. We can also blend and use two or three approaches within the same CSA program to come up with the better results. The control based is basically the concept where we have the risk, and we try to find the solution through already existing controls. So in the meeting, they already have identified the risk, so they come up and see what are the key controls that are mitigating those or managing those risks within the process. Sometimes they find within the process the controls need to be revamped, need to be further improved. Sometimes there isn't any control, so they have to recommend a new control. So this is a control-based approach. In a risk-based approach, what we basically do, we come up with the organizational objectives and see what are the key risks in that particular area that can hamper the achievement of the organization risk, and accordingly we identify all the key risk and then we look for the controls. So in that, the risk is take the lead. And then we have another approach by which we can use objective base. Objective base is somehow similar to the controls one, but here our main objective is whenever we are doing a risk and control process review or an assessment, our main objective is that we are able to achieve the organizational objective. So the entire talk start from specifying first of all the objective of the organization and then following up with the risk and control. The last one is process based. So process based is the one in which we take a process. It could be a production process, it could be a recruitment process, it could be procurement process, so it could be any process within the company, and then we look for all the possible risk and all the possible control that we need to have in that particular process, and eventually our goal is that the organizational objectives are being achieved in a more efficient and economical manner. So the process base also help us in redesigning the process and to come up with the right solution in order to have more economy and efficiency within the process. In terms of the different three approaches which we already have discussed, when it is more appropriate to use which approach, just to clarify that survey approach is good when the organization has very formal setup, they have hierarchies, the environment is not so open that people can come and express their opinion. Generally such type of organization have more bureaucracy, and you will find government organization entities in some places where they have that formality within the organization. Therefore, people might have a fear to open up on the issues, be it related to risk or controls, or efficiency or effectiveness within a process. To overcome that hurdle, it is more appropriate to seek out to the individuals by drafting a proper questionnaire, and being anonymous they can come up with their suggestive answers, what they think of the controlled environment and these kind of thing. These questions needs to be designed in a very effectively manner, because if you design the questions in a wrong way, the answer will be the outcome will be wrong. So you have to gauge the uh, the performance, or if you want to achieve the objective of the survey, you need to be very careful about the questions which you are designing or writing in that questionnaire. These questions are generally fall into like yes, no, have not, um, multiple type of question scenarios or questions. It will be similar to that in that format. Self-certification approach is good when the process owner or the functional department people, they want to improve a process and evaluate a process, then they can use this approach. um, and the other one, the workshop, basically it is for an open environment where people are confident and where they believe that they can express their opinion. There we can set up that workshop based facilitation approach. Um, Irrespective of whichever approach we adopt, there are certain limitation to CSA. What if the internal auditor or anyone who is sponsoring that activity might select a wrong approach? Means the organization is very formal and he use workshop based where no one come up with the issues. Then that could be a limitation to the CSA and getting a benefit, and limiting the benefit of this activity. What if the person, or the process owner or the operating manager, they are not skilled in terms of or they do not have proper knowledge of risk and controls? In that case, it will also hamper or limit the benefit. What if they come up with the wrong risks or wrong controls in their discussions? And lastly, what if they wrongly assessed? So these are some of the limitations which are pretty obvious, that what if anything go wrong that can happen to this process, then the benefit might be limiting. So keeping those in mind, these limitations, we have to design the CSA program within the company in a manner that where we educate the individuals, we help them, we facilitate them, we document them, we follow a formal approach, and we see what is the culture, and accordingly we can use the proper type of CSA, be it workshop based or surveys or self certification. We also use the appropriate format, be it objective based, risk based, control based, or process based. So these things we need to take into account whenever we are trying to have the CSA program within the company, and we have to keep on reassessing our results of each activity that we have performed in CSA, and to ensure that we are achieving the objective. If not, we have to amend the program accordingly. Now we are moving to our next section, which is about EBR, external business relationships. In this section, we have subsections. So we will be talking about EBR, how we can carry out the internal audit activities with EBR, then third party auditing, and the third one is about contracting audits, so anything related to contracts. So these are the three elements which we will cover in this section. EBR basically is when we have a external business relationship with any other entity for any services or products that are essential for our business to carry out activities, and how we manage that relationship. Whenever we have an EBR arrangement, the responsibility, similar to third party relationship, then there is, oh sorry, similar to the outsourcing arrangement, and the responsibility remains on us to ensure that our external business partners are doing their way, they are ethical, they are not employing child labor, they are complying with the laws and regulation, they are in compliance with the contractual terms. So all these things we have to ensure. Some of the examples of ABR, for example, it could involve many services that we take. For example, IT services, cleaning or janitorial services, maintenance services. This could be one type of ABR relationship. Supply side, we could have where we could have outsourcing to distributors, and any supplies that we provide for. Uh, Demand side is distributors, franchise. This could happen. Strategic alliances are joint ventures, partnerships. Then we can have IP partners, which is licenses, intellectual property. Basically, we can have that kind of relationships. So these are just the example of what type of services the organization have. In terms of benefits, why we need to have external business relationship, we want to take their expertise, we want to lower our costs, increase our efficiency. Maybe they have a tax solution for with them for our problem. Maybe we can utilize by their brand, or since they are managing a lot of services of similar kind, so we might benefit from lower cost rather than we being setting up the entire services for our business. It help us to focus on our core business, and all the side activities we try to manage through external business partners. There are certain challenges to EBR. First of all, two major risks involved in EBR: reputational risk and economical risk. So we have to ensure that they do not do anything wrong, which may eventually bring our name to shame, in terms of, like, we deal with a partner who doesn't care about environment, or who doesn't care about the human rights, or local laws and regulations, or they are cheating, or they are involved in corruption cases, or they have any embargo sanctions. So that kind of reputational risk is, we also are being associated with that kind of associated with the that kind of reputation risk in EBR cases. And economical, that whenever we have those contractual agreement, we want to ensure that the services or the products which we are taking from them are of best quality, and we are getting a good bargain in terms of saving cost or maximizing our revenue. Some other risks are insurance coverage. They might be not properly covered. That could eventually lead us to get harm because we are dealing with them. Bad services, if they provide bad services or product. Conflict of interest, where there could be any situation which, due to that particular event, they do not act in their fiduciary duty, and they do not act honestly and provide us the services true and fair and with a good faith. Overcharging fee, EBR. What if the EBR become insolvent? That we might lack the supplies from them or services from them. What if they disclose our confidential information to third party? So these are some of the major risks why we have to be very cautious whenever we are dealing with external business partners, and we have to take into account to ensure that these risks are being properly managed and there are proper protection clause within the agreement with them. The first thing, whenever you are intending to audit the EBR, you have to see, do we have a contract with them? And once we have the contract, technically we will be having a contract, but sometimes for small services the company might approach directly, without having a proper formal contract, just by purchase order. But essentially there needs to be a contract, and in that contract there should be proper clauses. And one of the most important clause in that contract is that the internal auditor might have the authority to carry out the audit of those third parties, or through external auditors, or we can outsource mutually agreed a third party to carry out an audit um, on the external business partner. Also, there needs to have that who will bear the cost of the internal audit while performing their audit activity. So that is also important. We have to ensure whenever we are auditing the EBR that they are in compliance with all the contractual terms. Um, they are using sorry, they are using the resources in a very optimal way. We do not miss out on any revenue or cost saving opportunity. They are properly adding value. They are passing on the economies of scale benefit to us. um, So these are some of the key things that need to be taken into account. And apart from that, the other audit programs or other audit procedures would remain the same as we do, um, based on the contractual terms. So if we have a contractual term that we can perform an on-site, third party, an external party audit, then we can go and send our auditors to them, and we can carry out. If it is based on just by providing the information, we can request the information, they can provide, and we can conclude. If it is based on that we both needs to have a neutral auditor, then we have to have that set up as well. The rest of the things, the scope, the resources required, everything will remain the same as we carry out in any other audit activities. The second part is third party audit. So in third party audit, we have to ensure that whenever we are dealing with any third party, so in the first section we talk about the exclusively about external business partners, and now we are talking about third party. It's similar, so do not have a confusion, but here we are just giving a generic overview of if there is any other third party with whom we are dealing. We have to ensure that whether, what if we can have efficiency by mutually carrying out an audit with the third party, or providing our resources, or using their resources, or using their reports for our assurance purposes, and just in order to avoid duplication. So this is one thing which we can see, that how we can coordinate with them. In the unit 1 we have discussed this in detail, then how the internal audit can have a coordination with the third party, and how we can carry out the audit accordingly. One more point in this section, the last one, is about contract auditing. Contract auditing is basically very much common in a construction example, where we contract with, it could be for anything, maybe a software development, but just to give you an easy example, in a construction setup, it could be that we have a contract, a lump sum contract for with the other party, with the second party, where we can say that, okay, you have to build this building, a showroom, and this will be the overall cost. So they calculate their cost, and they give us one lump sum amount. So in that we have to ensure that what is the clause for escalation if there is a delay, what is the reward or incentive for early completion, what are the milestone based on which we will be releasing the payments in different phases. So that these are the things from the audit perspective that are more important. Cost plus is where they say the labor will be provided by me at a fixed rate. However, all the materials you have to provide me. So in that we have to ensure that there might be a risk of inefficiencies where they use abnormally the resources, just because they do not have to, because it doesn't hurt them, it doesn't fall under their profit making or loss making. In that case we have to ensure that there is an efficiency and economy while having that setup of contract. Then we have an unit price based approach, in which we say that you have to, for example, if we have a cleaning contract, and we say that we will be charging, the second party say we will be charging you based on square feet. So in that we have to see that the proper measurement is being done. Or if we have a cleaning services, or if we have air conditioning services, in which we are being billed based on the floor area or the size of the building, or lightening or maintenance. So in that case also we have to ensure that the efficiency and economy is there. So in all these external business partner relationship, third party or contractual relationship, The most important thing is properly we need to have a proper contracts with them. We have to ensure the compliance with the contract, and we also need to ensure that whether the internal auditor have the authority to perform those audit on site or remotely, how we can have the relationship, and why we needed all this thing, just to ensure that we have proper control over them in terms of there are proper controls to manage the third party relationship risk, and we also ensure efficiency and economy, and to have a very fruitful relationship, and to give an assurance to the board and management that we have a very healthy relationship on a transparent grounds with the third party. So this is why we need to be very cautious about EBR or third party or contractual arrangements. Quality auditing is basically, as the name goes, it's all about quality. So whenever we are providing a quality audit, we have to ensure that whatever is being set as a criteria, the quality is not deviating from that criteria, right? Whenever we talk about quality does not only mean that the final product quality we are talking about in organization. We have a philosophy called TQM, total quality management, and that philosophy uh, uh, stems from the idea that the entire organizational processes and the products, even the relationships the organization have with the other, we need to ensure quality in every aspect of the organization, be it customer service, be it services between different departments within the company, IT services, production services, after sales services. So we have to ensure the quality aspect of it. So being an auditor, whenever we have a scope of reviewing a quality aspect of the process, we have to ensure that what is the deviation from the set criteria and why that deviation has happened, what is the root causes of that deviation. These all things we need to take into account whenever we are doing quality audits. One more thing, there is a traditional view of quality assurances where we were thinking more about the economy, or we were thinking about the how we can minimize the error rates or faulty products. But these days quality is not restricted to that strict definition. Quality means that we have to add value to the organization, and it's not an one time activity, it's a continuous process. We have to, as an organization, keep on evolving to the extent that quality become our distinct feature and a selling point to the customer. Another topic, security and privacy audit. This is one of the very essential areas in the domain of internal audit that we have to carry out. Back in the days, it was pretty common that we were having a separate IT auditors, but these days it is being expected from the internal auditor that they should have know-how of the system security and privacy related technical things. What happened in the organization, that the head of the internal audit, they hired a team. Within his team, apart from financial operational activities, they also carry out the information security, IT, and privacy audit. This domain is so much important because there are so many strict laws and regulation which revolve around the protection of the information of individuals, suppliers, customers, employees. There are hefty payments, fines for not complying with that regulation. even sometimes you lose the business, and there is a lot of bad publicity if any of the information is being leaked out, or it is being compromised by an hacker. In the past, we have seen such incidents happen in Facebook, where the individual's information has been hacked by a third person, or a hacker. It also happened I think in PayPal, if I'm not wrong, the debit and credit card information has been accessed by a third person or a third party. So there are sometimes there are system loopholes, and sometimes there are the attackers. They find through social or engineering, by manipulating individuals and getting a passwords, or because we always believe that the human beings are the weakest link in the controls. So no matter how strong we have systems in place, unless until we train our employees and make them aware of what is the emerging trends, and they are not supposed to share any of the information and all, we might still be exposed if we do not do these things to external threats. The audit of such domain is based on the risk assessment we carry out, that what are the key critical information the organization have. What happened in a big organization, they even classify what is the most critical and then the least critical information, and accordingly all the controls are being deployed based on the criticality of the information. Whenever we talk about privacy audit, it doesn't restrict, or it doesn't fall or in confined in terms of only information. It also talk about physical security. We have seen a lot of cases where the terrorist attacks in schools, in colleges, in malls. So physical access is very important, that we protect the environment. We have surveillances, but when we talk about surveillances, we also have to have to take into account the local laws, and to what extent we can carry out a surveillance. So there was a lot of uproar on the surveillance by the Chinese authority of their citizens. So to what extent we can go, or the U.S. Authorities on the users of some of the big social media platform. So we have to ensure privacy and security, but at the same time, we have to strike a balance where we do not infringe in the personal space of people. So that we have to take into account, and generally the laws specify that to what extent we can go. So this is important, and these are the things which we need to take into account whenever we are intending to carry out a security or privacy audit. Another type of audit that we perform as an auditor is performance auditing. It could be exclusive an audit on performance assessment, or it could be a part of an audit engagement where we also ensure that the KPIs of that particular area is being met or not. Whenever we talk about a performance audit, we talk about whether those objectives which we have set, and what are the key indicators, we call it key performance indicators, have been achieved in order to ensure that the organizational functions or individuals or overall the organization have achieved the desired objective. Because ultimately, what is the objective of the organization? To fulfill the objectives, and what are those objectives that is being set by the highest authority, by the top management, and approved by the board, in order to benefit, to enable all the stakeholders to get benefit of those objectives. It could be maximization of wealth, it could be providing higher quality services, it could be helping the humanity through non-governmental organization, it could be anything. But to achieve that, we have to keep on monitoring whether these performances are being achieved or not. There are different models that we use. We can use SWOT analysis at a strategic level. We can use balance scorecard. SWOT analysis is basically where we look at what are our strengths and weaknesses and what are the opportunities and threats to achieve that organizational objectives, and we assess and we make our action plan accordingly. In balance scorecard, it's a beautiful concept in which it talks about different facet of performance. It talks about financial measures that whenever we are assessing, we have to ensure whether the financial targets are being achieved, or the minimum cost is being cost saving is being achieved. Customer measures, the customers are getting highest quality and we are getting highest rating on the customer um, satisfaction level. Internal measures will be more that how our systems and processes are working, are we achieving our KPIs or not. Learning and growth could be one of the aspect of performance that our individual are we investing in our individuals and upskilling it? Are we acquiring good quality people in our organization? Are we ensuring that the people are motivated and they have a growth uh, possibility or opportunities within the organization? And lastly, the innovation measures, which means that we try to come up with new ideas, out of box ideas, where we become a leader in whatever space or industry or sector we are working in. So therefore, performance auditing sometimes can be exclusive, where we talk about hardcore performance appraisals of employee or KPIs achievement, but sometimes it could be at a holistic level, where we ensure that whether the organization is going in the right direction or not. Here we are at the end of the our lecture of CIA Unit 2, Part 1. In this unit, we have discussed about the the two major concepts. One is the control self-assessment, and the second one is the assurance services. Within the assurance services, um, we went into a little bit deep into third-party auditing, quality, performance, and there was one more, security and privacy audit. So basically, in the unit one, we talk about foundation of internal audit. In the unit two, we talk about assurance services within the unit two. So stay tuned for more videos, and hopefully we would be able to cover the CIA part one entire syllabus in these lecture series on our YouTube channel. And see you till next time. Thank you for watching.